Hello, LTF viewers. Delilah Crespo here with another episode of Diversity with Delilah. All right, so today I'm going to talk to you about Mr. Hall of Famer, defensive tackle during the steel curtain era of the 1970s Pittsburgh Steelers team, Mr. Mean Joe Greene. All right, let's get into it. So he was born and raised in Temple, Texas. He played high school football at Dunbar High School. Despite Greene's talents, the Dunbar Panthers weren't that good. They had a mediocre record, so he wasn't really heavily recruited by colleges. Another limitation, this is the 1960s in Texas, and so segregation also impacted how many people could actually see him and how many college offers he could get. So the Southwest Conference during this time was segregated. However, eventually he was offered a scholarship to play college football at North Texas State University, which is now known as the University of North Texas. He played on the varsity team from 66 to 68. The 3 seasons he played there, they had a 23-15-1 record with a per carry average of less than 2 yards in his 39 games at defensive tackle. North Texas State limited the opposition to 2,507 yards on 1,276 rushes. Greene was a 3-time All-Missouri Valley Conference selection during his tenure there. As a senior, Greene was a consensus pick as a defensive tackle for the 1968 All-American team, earning him his first team honors from United Press International, the Newspaper Enterprise Association, and Sporting News. So during a 2014 interview, Greene actually admitted that he didn't like his name, but he understood, the mean part, but he understood that it helped bolster his how strong he was on the field, so he understood being called mean, which has followed him from his, college days, by the way, and followed him in the NFL. So he wasn't a fan of the mean part of Mean Joe Greene, but he understood that helped play upon the psyche of the opponents, right? So he got that part. Also, Joe isn't his given name. His name is actually Charles. However, his aunts believed that he looked like boxing legend Joe Louis, and so they nicknamed him Joe. So Joe is also a nickname. Don't know if y'all knew that, but there's another little tidbit about Mr. Joe Greene is that Joe isn't actually his given name. His given name is Charles, but his aunts believed he looked like the boxing legend Joe Louis, and they called him Joe, and it stuck. So, all right. So again, there's a variety of reasons why the mean came. Again, it came during his time playing in North Texas. There's different accounts. There's one account that says a cheerleader blurted out, "That's the way, Mean Greene." As a reason, during a cheer thing, she tried that and it could kind of continued. However, some are saying it's more than likely that it came from North Texas basketball players Willie Davis and Ira Daniels, who were kind of upset with how unenthusiastic the crowd was. Like, they weren't into it. Remember, this is Texas, where football is next to God, right? If y'all don't know that, it's really high up there. And so they were like, what's going on? And so they began to sing, "Mean Greene, you look so good to me." The rest of the crowd followed, and he did it after every game. A lot of people started associating it with Joe because his last name was Greene, but it actually started with that simple chant that Saturday night at Fotis Field, and that's the truth according to these guys. And so, and it's Greene because of the team, not because of Greene's name. That just happened to be a coincidence. And so actually just comes from the team itself. That's like their colors. Anywho. But people just kind of associated it with Greene because of his last name. Okie doke. So the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise at this time was one of the most downtrodden having experienced a lot of losing seasons before they hired Chuck Noll as their head coach in 1969. Noll and the Rooney family, which had owned the franchise since its formation, agreed that building the defensive line was crucial to rebuilding the team. So, Steelers selected Joe Greene as their fourth pick during the 1969 NFL Draft. The selection was unpopular by fans and media who really didn't know who Greene was, because again, he's coming out of North Texas, segregated conference. So they're like, who is this guy? And they were hoping that they would pick someone with more excitement and known. But Coach Noll really believed in Greene and saw a lot of potential. And so that's why he went with Joe Greene. And it was apparent right away that Coach Noll had it right. In a matter of months, Greene established himself as one of the most dominant players in the league at his position. Despite the team in 1969 finishing with a 113 record, the Associated Press named Greene the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year and was invited to his first Pro Bowl as a rookie. So, Greene and Coach Noll are widely credited together with turning the Steelers franchise record around. The Steelers finished in 1970 with a 5-9 record and went on to a 6-8 in 1971. Greene was invited to the Pro Bowl in both those seasons. Then in 1972, Pittsburgh finished 11-3 and won its first division title and its first playoff game, which was when the Immaculate Reception happened against the Oakland Raiders. They won their first division title in a long time. During this game, Greene tallied 11 quarterback sacks and 42 solo tackles, and he was recognized as the AP NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Miami Dolphins head coach during time, Mr. Don Shula, lauded Greene and saying, "He's just a superstar. It's hard to believe he isn't offside on every play. He makes the other team adjust to him." So again, Coach Noll had it right when he looked at Greene and said, this is the guy. All right. With the drafting of defensive tackle Ernie Holmes in 1972, the Steelers assembled what became known as the Steel Curtain defensive line of Greene, Holmes, L.C. Greenwood, and Dwight White. Greene was invited to the Pro Bowl for 1973, joining White and Greenwood on the American Football Conference roster. Greene won his second AP NFL Defensive Player of the Year award after the 1974 season, becoming the first player to receive that award multiple times. Right now we see it more in the modern era, but he was the first player to receive multiple NFL Defensive Player of the Year awards. It went to Greene. Greene developed a new tactic of lining up at a sharp angle between the guard and center to disrupt the opposition's blocking assignments. But his coaches at the time weren't sold on it, and so they didn't let him try it out during a regular season. Greene was allowed to use it against the Bills in the division championship game, and it proved highly effective. They impeded the Buffalo's blocking, and running back O.J. Simpson managed only 48 yards rushing. So I know it's crazy when we talk about O.J. Simpson. But anyway, let's move on. All right. So the following week, the Steelers faced the Oakland Raiders in the AFC Championship game, with the defining matchup being Greene against All-Pro center Jim Otto. People were excited about this to see, Otto, who was like really seen as, a huge person on the offense for the Raiders at the time. And then you had Mr. Me Joe Greene. I know he doesn't like the name, but that's what he was called, And people were waiting for this. So during that game, Greene had it out for Otto because he knew. He kicked him in the groin. Again, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying this is what happened. He kicked him in the groin. And then, following that play, threw him to the ground with one arm before leaping to sack quarterback Ken Stabler. Oakland was held to 29 rushing yards in the Steelers' 24-13 victory. On Jan 12, 1975, the Steelers won their first of 4 Super Bowl championships in a 6-year span. by defeating the Minnesota Vikings 16-6 in Super Bowl IX. So this is where it started their dominance of the 70s and winning championships. I mean, just, if you study 1970s, the Steelers were out there like just demolishing people. Greene recorded an interception, forced fumble, and a fumble recovery in what is considered one of the greatest individual defensive Super Bowl performances. Pittsburgh limited the Vikings to only 119 total yards of offense, 17 of which were gained on the ground. After the season, Greene was honored by the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette at its 39th Dapper Dan dinner as Pittsburgh's outstanding sports figure of the year. Now moving on a little bit further in his career, Steelers 1979 season with a 12-14 record and ranked second in total defense and fifth in scoring defense. Greene was named a first-team All-Pro by the Pro Football Writers Association and Pro Football Weekly and was invited to his final Pro Bowl. He was also deemed NFL's Man of the Year in recognition of his off-field contributions. In the AFC Championship game against the Houston Oilers, the Steelers held NFL MVP Earl Campbell to just 15 rushing yards and 17 carries. Pittsburgh then defeated the Los Angeles Rams in this Super Bowl 1979, for an unprecedented fourth Super Bowl title. With the fourth title came Greene's fourth Super Bowl ring, inspiring his famous phrase, "one for the thumb," an allusion to winning a fifth championship. Unfortunately, he didn't make that. He didn't win his fifth Super Bowl because the Steelers failed to reach the playoffs in each of his final two seasons on the team. But again, 4 Super Bowl rings and 4 Super Bowl wins with the Steelers, ain't nothing to just, blow off. So kudos to Mr. Joe Greene. In 1981, Greene retired, having played in 181 out of 190 games. He played 181 games out of 190. He recorded 77.5 sacks in his career, which weren't counted at the time, apparently. Sacks were not an official statistic until 1982. He had 16 fumble recoveries and 1 interception. He was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1984, and in 1987 was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He made the NFL's 1970s All-Decade Team, the NFL 75th All-Time Team, the NFL 100th Anniversary All-Time Team, the Pittsburgh Steelers All-Time Team, Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Honor. The Pittsburgh Steelers retired his number 75 on November 2nd, 2014, during the halftime. He's also in the Pittsburgh Pro Football Hall of Fame. Okay, so he's 9 years as an All-Pro or All-AFC, 10 Pro Bowls. Remember, this is when they pounded each other. So he made it to 10 Pro Bowls when the AFC and NFC actually went and duked it out during the Pro Bowl, So he made it to 10 of those. During his Hall of Fame speech, he said, "I just want people to remember me as being a good player, not really mean. I want to be remembered for playing 13 years and contributing to 4 championship teams. I would like to be remembered for maybe setting a standard for others to achieve." Remember I was saying in the beginning, Kai wasn't a fan of the meme, but understood how that could help him on the field. But this is what he wants to be remembered for being a standard, right? In 2014, Greene was subject to an episode of the NFL Network's documentary series, A Football Life, which chronicled his life and career. As of 2016, he resides in Flower Mound, Texas. His wife of 47 years, Agnes, with whom he had 3 children, passed away in 2015 of cancer. In memory of his late wife, in 2018, Greene set up the Agnes Lucille Kraft Greene Memorial Scholarship. And these scholarships are presented annually to students from Texas whose parents have battled cancer. What a wonderful way to remember his late wife. He did remarry Charlotte. This is his current wife, Charlotte Greene. Greene is also known as Papa Joe to 7 grandchildren. And there you have it. That is the life of Joe Greene. I hope you learned a lot today. And I hope to bring you someone just as exciting on our next episode of Diversity with Delilah. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah.